Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
From Wrestling with the Wrestling's past and present. This is Wrestling with Wrestling's past and present. I'm Tim Kirk.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And today, well, first of all, before we get into today's show, Merry Christmas, everyone. This is a special Christmas episode.
And we say special Christmas episode because we're covering the what used to be the annual Christmas tradition.
Yes, Starrcade, and we're going back to 1997. So it's WCW Starrcade 97 this week.
So did we get presents or did we get Cole?
We didn't get Michael Cole. He's not on the show.
No.
We didn't get Adam Cole either.
But everybody got Wrestling with Wrestling's past and present.
Now for Christmas though, Tim.
Yes.
Did you understand the assignment? Did you follow the assignment? Did you watch Home Alone?
No, I did not watch Home Alone.
This guy.
Shame.
Shame. Too bad we didn't have like footage of like saying shame us. But yeah, no, I don't understand how you've lived 30 some odd Christmases and you've never seen either one or two. Like fuck three. Like three stupid as a different other kid in it, no offense. But like 1 and 2. Like I don't know.
No. And then have not watched it along with a lot of other movies that you probably have seen. I have not watched.
But this one's almost sacrilege. So Carly, now I'm gonna put it out to you because Tim ignored me last time. Carly.
Yeah, but she probably doesn't listen,
does
she, Tim? Yeah, I was gonna say, does she actually listen, Tim?
Oh, really?
Carly?
Right.
Yeah. Put her on the spot.
Let's say, well, I'll say not as much as she should.
Same with Amber. She used to be really good at the beginning and then just like stopped.
All right. Well, then somebody needs to get Tim to watch this. So, Tim has relatives who listen to this. Tim needs to watch Home Alone.
Tim did not understand the assignment.
No.
Nope.
I don't even get the understand the assignment thing. Like, where's that?
Oh,
TikTok.
Right? Yeah.
It's a TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim's like the old man, get off my lawn here. He's like, what's that? Tickery, tockery, dockery?
I didn't know if you're doing a Matt Stryker impression or like what.
For the youngest one of the group, what's going on here? Like the two old men are teaching you about the TikTok.
the TikTok, yeah.
Is that different from Peacock?
Yes.
Okay.
Slightly. I mean, they're both.
They're both probably spyware. Let's be realistic.
Well, we know according to some news articles that TikTok might be. So, but still, it's. I've found myself numerous times. I send stuff to Mongo all the time. Like I'm like randomly going down the rabbit hole, like when I'm bored, and I'm like, oh, Mongo would think this is funny, or like my wife, I'm like, Amber, they would think this is funny. Like there was a clip that I sent her. I know we're not even like on topic at all, but what the heck? It's a Christmas episode. We'll just shoot the shit for a minute. There was a clip from The Big Bang Theory where Raj calls Bitcoin bitchcoin, and like Penny asks, and like they were going into the closet to like try to find the flash drive. Like if you watch the show, you remember they lost the flash drive, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And Raj is like, "Oh, we have a bunch of bitcoin," and he's like. And Leonard comes out of the closet like this way. He's like, he does like that slow lean and turn, like, oh. Like I said, it's just random. I feel like Tim's missing out. I'm trying to sell TikTok to Tim here. That's all I'm trying to do.
Speaking of that, you can follow us at WWPAP Podcast. One of our videos of a referee who's featured pretty heavily tonight doing a cartwheel, which Charles Robinson just not giving a flying fuck and just randomly cartwheeling in
the ageless Charles Robinson still
exactly the same.
Yeah, he hasn't changed much. No,
unlike that son of a bitch Nick Patrick, but
yeah, that's a separate story for a separate time. Hey, I didn't honestly know that like after a certain match ended that a person that was a special referee was still a referee for that night. I mean, I know we're going to get into that, but like I didn't know that was the thing. Apparently in WCW, if you referee one match that night, you can referee any other match that whole night. Weird. Who would have known?
We'll get into that towards the end, but yeah, this is 97. This is kind of still the beginnings of the NWO. I mean, they've been around. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's been about a year and a half now.
It hasn't got real clustery yet, like to the point where like it's getting there, but like it hasn't unwound yet. They're still in the midst of their 83 straight weeks. They're still hot. They're still doing their thing. Yep. And like you said, this Sting Hogan match at the end here was an 18-month build-up.
Yeah, it had an 18-month build-up, yeah.
Oh.
And we'll let you know if it lived up to the build-up. But
Fucking Virgil.
Yeah, Vincent, come on.
Soul Train Jones.
Yeah.
Dude has every single name but relevant. That's all I gotta say.
Wow.
Ooh.
We'll get to him in a little bit. We actually do have to start off, though, on somewhat of a good note, though. It's a singles match for the Cruiserweight Championship. It's Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malinko. Match goes about 15 minutes with Eddie Guerrero getting the win. I thought this was an excellent match. I mean, honestly, I don't think there's many matches on the card that will top this.
Yeah.
And they started off definitely with a bang. What I liked about most of it is the psychology in it. Eddie Guerrero worked the body part throughout this whole match. He worked the leg and the knee of Dean Malinko, and he actually used his 5-star fog splash on the legs, which is something you don't really see. You don't really see that type of psychology in today's wrestling. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it right amount of time and a great opener. This one really, really impressive.
I agree. I think that the storytelling was great in this match. Like you said, he picked the body part, and that's what essentially was the undoing of Dean Malinko. And you got to remember, in '97, the talent pool they had for the Cruiserweight division was insane. Like, they had some, I mean, they were setting the world on fire every night, whether it was Nitro, a pay-per-view, whatever. And this right there, this match just shows you what, 96, 97, 98 WCW was all about. I mean, they had the NWO running roughshod for like a 2-year period. And then you had the fire matches with the Cruiserweights with Ray and Hoovy and, Dean and Eddie. It's just, it is one of the matches that will bring you back to your childhood, hands down, and it'll make you appreciate. And again, it's too bad that Eddie is no longer with us, because he would have so much to give to the business right now, as a coach, a manager, commentator, whatever role he could have had, he would have succeeded at it, because he is such a great character.
Absolutely. Like Tim said, the psychology of this match, him attacking the legs the entire time. And it was good heel psychology too, because the way he was attacking the legs, it wasn't just like the traditional, twisting the ankle while you're on the ground, or just, doing a technical move. It was stomping on the legs. Like you said, hitting the frog splash in the legs. And like you said, Roland, this is the Cruiserweight division. This is what made WCW one of the must-see shows. And this was an excellent match. So, I mean, it was a great way to start. Like, I texted you guys in the group chat this morning. I was like, yeah, I'm currently enjoying Starrcade, because this was the first match, so I got hooked in early. And that's always usually a good sign for us. I feel like when we watch shows, if the first match kind of hook us a little bit, I feel like it's a good trend for the rest of the show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know if the trend, though, continues with our next match. It's a 6-man tag. You have Scott Norton, Vincent, Virgil, Soul Train Jones, whatever you want to call him, Scam Artist,
Nutsack cameo.
Yeah, I was going to say guy with his balls out. I don't know. Yeah, you can tell it's a Christmas episode. Anyways, and Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth, they're going to get a win over Ray Traylor, who you may know as the Big Boss Man, and the Steiner Brothers, along with Ted DiBiase, in about 11 minutes, which is probably 11 minutes too long. I mean,
Conan was supposed to be in this match too.
Yeah, Conan was supposed to be in the match, but the NWO rules state that they can have anybody replace anybody at any time.
Well, it's because Conan had a kid back then. That's why.
Well, and to be fair, I liked, whether they didn't know for sure that Savage was coming, I liked how surprised they played it off. Like, oh my God, Randy Savage wasn't even supposed to be here. Like, I thought that was a cool, whether it was, they knew, or it was like maybe they didn't tell the team like they were going to replace him, but they didn't say with who. So like they genuinely seemed surprised that Randy Savage was coming out to the ring.
No, I agree. You kind of already said what it is about this match. Like I said earlier, it's Vincent and Virgil, Soul Train Jones, Meat Sauce King, Nuts on Cameo dude. Like he was always just there for me. He was always that one jobber that I just couldn't stand seeing on my TV.
You just said that Vincent was always there for you. He was always there for you.
No. Like, but do you know where he always is? A flea market parking lot trying to sell 8x10s for $20. That's where he always is. LonelyVirgil.net. Which, so I'm gonna put out there. That domain became available. It used to be a meme site. Should we buy the fucking Lonely Virgil domain and just have people send us the Lonely Virgil pictures? Because they were funny for a while. The dude would just literally set up Like he'd go to the cruise ports and put a fucking table with the Ted DiBiase and Virgil sign, which, by the way, Ted DiBiase fucking sued him because he was using that sign to get promoters to book him, and Ted DiBiase wasn't showing up.
Speaking of upstanding citizens, Ted DiBiase there with his legal issues lately.
I was gonna say him and his sons owe some money to his state.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate too because like I don't know if you guys have watched it, but I know I think I've watched it twice now, the Ted DiBiase movie. And if the fans that listen to the show haven't watched the movie, it's a good watch. It really is.
It's on Prime too. So
yeah. Unfortunately, though, knowing what we know now, Ted didn't end up being as wholesome as everybody thought he was when he, found the Lord and admitted his wrongs and tried to right his wrongs and all that stuff. Turns out he was still kind of wrong. So,
but to try not to go off too off track like I do with Rowan, because unfortunately I'm a bad influence. This match was a mess for me. This is like one of those, like I was on my phone the whole time. It's just, unfortunately, I did have the Steiner as a big boss man, but just, I mean, between Vincent constantly like hanging on the rope waiting for his spots, like it was so distracting. He would just constantly climb the apron like, oh, this isn't my spot yet, to waiting on the turnbuckle for him. It was just
he did that. He did that later on in the night too with the Luger match when he tried to interfere. He and I know we're jumping ahead, but like he got up on the ring, like the top rope, like way too early. He just kind of like hovered there for a little bit.
The timing, yeah. So I think that kind of killed it, but. I'm surprised you didn't talk about the Scott Hall giant little 20
promo
there.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Nash was supposed there, but I remember in Bischoff's book, it talked about Nash's dad had a heart attack, and Nash thought he was having some heart issues, so he kind of bailed on the night, and they got some heat on him. But it's kind of bad because he did that on TNA episode we covered too. He kind of no-showed, so I wonder if he just didn't want a job to Giant back then. Because I remember that was the original storyline, was him and the Giant had a feud. Because remember they were trying to ban his powerbomb for a while. He wasn't allowed to use it, but then suddenly he was allowed to use it again. And then, so I don't know what happened, but it was a really kind of awkward segment too. So I think the match and then that weird segment before just felt really out of place for this pay-per-view.
Yeah, it definitely slowed things down coming off the Eddie and Dean match.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It kind of killed the momentum that the first match had. And unfortunately, the momentum really not going to pick up here. We got to talk about our favorite guy, Goldberg here. We
don't have to.
Well, we can. Well, we'll give the Reader's Digest version, I guess. So Goldberg, this is his debut year, so he's kind of in the undefeated streak. So he's going to get a win over Steve McMichael in about 6 minutes. And we mentioned this before. Prayers to Steve McMichael right now. He's going through ALS complications, I believe. So, prayers to him. Hopefully he recovers soon. Ric Flair posted a photo of him not too long ago, and he did not look very good in that photo.
We discussed that if I were Mongo, I wouldn't have wanted that picture out there. And it sucks too because Flair's trying to be like a nice guy to like show that like support for him and stuff, but like Mongo looked horrible. He really did. Not our Mongo, Steve Mongo McMichael looked horrible. I actually complimented Mongo earlier about his hair, so it's not pick on Mongo today yet.
It's Christmas. We'll give him a break.
Yeah, we'll give him a pass. But yeah, if it were me, if it was Steve Mongo McMichael's like estate, like his wife or whoever's like in charge of, because I would assume that he's power of attorney wise is probably he's got something set up for his estate. I would have been like, can you not share that picture? It's pretty bad, and that's one of the reasons why he stopped doing public appearances, because he realized that he looked like crap. And I mean, it's cool that Rick went and saw him and whatnot, but like I still think it was a little bit in poor taste, and unless he got the okay to post it, which maybe he did, and if he did, that's fine. But like the one thing I took away from that, like Tim said, he looked horrible. He looked really bad, and unfortunately, in this day and age, you still have cancer, you still have ALS, you have all this stuff out there that we don't have cures for. We can only like kind of slow it down. And it's just, I'm not going to say it's a death sentence, but that's essentially what it is. And it's just too bad that some of these, even people close, family members and whatever get sick or have stuff. Like, it's just too bad. And when you see stuff like that, because when I think of Mongo McMichael, I think of, like all the bloopers he had wrestling and stuff, which is funny to like think about. But now it's like, well, shit, like we probably shouldn't laugh at that. But I know I'm kind of on a tangent here, but like I think that if anything, it shows you that anybody at any time can be vulnerable, and that's the biggest takeaway from it. Because I mean, Steve Mongo McMichael was a legend, in football, and then in wrestling too. And I'm not going to not say he wasn't a legend, because he was. He was a known name, whether or not he did anything of like relevance to certain people, whatever, that's fine. But you knew the name, so that's to me, that's what makes him a legendary name. So.
I mean, I obviously knew the name because I got my nickname around the same time he started rising to prominence in WCW. And like Roland said, the nickname didn't come from him. The nickname was a long, boring story that no one wants to hear. But to me, I always kind of connected with it because it was always cool to hear the name Mongo on TV, except for in Full House when it was the loser musician. But it was really cool. And, like you said, Stephen Michael was a legend in the NFL. And, I picked on Vincent earlier being a jobber. And I think Stephen Michael's not so much issue, but they just never knew what to do with him wherever he went. Like, they always just kind of set him up to fail by putting him in feuds that weren't believable with him, or just not really giving him a chance to develop. So I think that was always, the fault of the promoters more than him, because, he could bump, he could wrestle. He was believable. He was an athlete. This match was just sloppy, but not really his fault. It's just because Goldberg, when have you ever said this is a great match by Goldberg? Those matches usually don't come out of your mouth. Goldberg came in.
He's a bull in a china shop. That's what when Goldberg was on his streak, that, like you said, 3 minute, like literally it was come out, spear, jackhammer, match over. Like that was his thing. Like that's what he did for like a year straight, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, there's only so much you can unfortunately do with that. And then, that awful table spot they tried to do, and then the crowd just wasn't into it. They were just chanting ECW, and they could have cared less. So I feel bad because, I think looking back now, Stephen Michaels should have gotten, at least put him in like another, mid-carder. Don't just make him a victim to Goldberg. They should have had him do something, because he could even help maybe some of the young guys who didn't understand some of the bumping or didn't understand how to move in the ring, or he could have just been cannon fodder. Like, he could have been a jobber that was successful. He didn't have to be world champion, but you also didn't have to basically feed him to Goldberg to make Goldberg look strong.
Well, and like you said, some of that was that he was on TV too soon. He had no business being on TV as early as he was, other than the fact that he was a name and he was popular. But he was not. He was so green that he just didn't know. Like you said, he was an athlete and he could bump. But like some of those videos you see of him like getting confused, trying to go off the ropes, and like not like knowing where to be, kind of like Vincent earlier, like not knowing, like it's just from being green. And that it's the same thing that Cornette got on AEW about Dante Martin. Like, he's going to be a great guy, but you might be pushing him a little bit too soon. And I don't agree with Cornette often, but on that instance, I do, because you have other names on TV. You then build up a guy like Dante Martin to just have him lose to MJF. Like, it start stop. Like, it's cool to like, oh, this guy's going to be great, but like it's a similar thing with Mongo McMichael. They were like, oh, like, look at this name, let's put him out there, and he just wasn't ready. That's the biggest thing. Like Mongo said, he wasn't ready.
It kind of reminds me of how if WWE didn't have the performance center, would have Ronda Rousey have really, done anything? They kind of had to take her away from Alexa Bliss because she was hurting Alexa Bliss and botching like crazy. They had to kind of keep her in the triple threat matches or the squash matches because she clearly wasn't ready. So wrestling, like you and Dante Martin, so wrestling is still guilty of it today, but it's just because someone has name recognition, we don't want them in the ring right away because, Bad Bunny's probably the only example recently. I know you talk about him a lot, but who went in the ring and didn't look like he was completely lost and didn't look like he didn't belong there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes you have these involvements with people being trained to wrestle, and like you said, they're too early, and that's just a safety issue. And even back, as a teenager, I didn't like seeing people who were green in the ring. So I'm like, oh, that guy's going to get hurt. Because you still knew it was work. You still knew, it was predetermined. And you don't want someone like, Goldberg, Michael, breaking a leg or breaking an arm because they botched a simple spot.
Well, and that, like, going back to the Dante thing, like, I'm not saying he's not, like, he's not green per se, but to a national audience, you like think about what they did with Jungle Boy. They were smart. They pushed him, but like they never like really squashed him back down. They pushed him. He would lose here and there, but it was like a hard fought. Like with Dante, they pushed him for like a month and then had MJF beat him. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, what was the point of that?
Right.
Next up is a Ravens rules match. You have Perry Saturn with Raven getting a win. over Chris Benoit on about 10, just under 11 minutes. Honestly, don't remember a whole lot about this match, to be honest with you. I do know it's to further Raven's storyline. Raven said that in this contract, he can wrestle when and whenever he wants. So he's supposed to face Chris Benoit, but he bows out, and Perry Saturn from the flock comes in and takes a spot. But why you put Saturn over Benoit here is a little baffling to me.
Well, and the one thing I pull away from this match was that Benoit got to spit on Raven.
Yeah,
that's about it. Like there wasn't much. It's unfortunate too because Saturn. I think that he's like the forgotten guy of the Radicals when they all jumped. That he kind of unfortunately ended up being like the jaw. He was the Genetti of the group, unfortunately, and it just didn't. But he's always
the mop.
Yeah, I mean,
the gin track.
Yeah, I mean, he always had potential and he has a good look, but like it's same with WCW. They just really didn't know what to do with the guy.
Another person to send out good vibes to. He's been looking rough lately.
Yeah,
has had some situations, but yeah, I agree. This match was it was a Mount clusterfuck. You know, as we always say, like every fucking member of the flock came out at one point. Like there was so many people involved. There was just. We always say, "Oh, this match is full of Gaga." If you want to know what we're talking about, Gaga, this match is just pure what the fuck. From the most obnoxious entrance music in the world by Perry Saturn, that like siren thing. Which, God, if you're an audiophile, do not watch that because it's just ear piercingly disgusting. It's worse than when I sang "Sexy Kurt" when I was drunk on the Jericho cruise.
It's worse than the Scott Steiner siren. That one's pretty bad.
It was just. So right away, I was already annoyed because okay, my head like has a pounding headache now from listening to that damn. And they didn't turn it off; they just kept it going while he was in the ring for a good 30 seconds.
They're like, okay, we get it.
And then just because there was so much Gaga, they didn't really do much in the ring. It was just like kind of like 10 minutes of going back and forth with everyone and their mother interfering. So it's a shame. Like Roland said, Saturn was kind of forgotten. Benoit is what he is in the ring. They could have had a halfway decent match here and maybe had Raven interfere to keep the storyline going with Benoit, but they had to have everyone. It's just they overbooked the fuck out of this match, basically.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Benoit, I know we talk about this all the time. Like I saw a TikTok actually of Paul Heyman summing up the Benoit thing as best as I can do, like in the way that Paul Heyman summed it up. He more or less said that, Benoit was a great athlete. I'm not going to take that away from him. But what you got to remember is that 3 people died in that house and only one of them had the choice. He goes, 2 of them didn't have the choice. He goes, so you can think of whatever you want for Benoit as a wrestler, but like he more or less said he was like, if that's your guy, then, fuck you, which again, you're going to have people that just can't watch it and you're going to have people that have that mentality. But Heyman made a good point. It's unfortunate how it went, but as a pure wrestler, Chris Benoit may have been one of the best of all time, and it's unfortunate that's how it went. Plain and simple. And I know, like every time we have a Benoit match, I have to say this because I feel like I don't want people to think that we're like, hey, a murderer was on our show. Like that's not what we're getting at. But we also you can't delete the guy from history because he had so many important things. Like we talked about this last week. Mongo and I did. Tim wasn't here. If you delete him from that triple threat match with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, like you can't. Like that match happened. Sorry, it happened. So like,
have you seen the memes when they first started scrubbing him from the network where it showed like some of his most famous matches and they put like the creator wrestler guy over him that was wrestling the whole time. So like, you make a good point. My last point is so that way we can have Tim take us on to the next match is Kurt Angle even said on the most recent Talk is Jericho podcast that he was on, they asked him what his favorite match was, he said, the Rumble against Benoit. He said from an in-ring standpoint, he's the best wrestler I've ever worked with. Coming from someone who won an Olympic medal in wrestling.
A broken freaking neck.
Thank you. I was reading that. But coming from him, that's very high regard. So that's what Roland's trying to get is in ring point, we're going with that. So
yeah.
Well, like I said, I love the way that Heyman summed it up, and it definitely brings you a perspective too, because he's right. 2 of those people unfortunately didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So I know Mongo wanted me to get to the next match. Do we really have to talk about this?
I think he just wanted to move on from Benoit. I think but
because
Judy would be disappointed if she was still alive. She'd be
yeah. Okay, so it's Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger.
It's Marcus Buff
Yeah,
Bagwell.
yeah.
If you remember the intro, it was Marcus Buff Bagwell.
So
Whatever
here's
happened to Scotty Riggs, by the way? Like, remember when they were the American males and it was Marcus Bagwell and Scotty Riggs? Like, whatever happened to Scotty Riggs?
I think you're the only person that cares about that question.
Mongo cares. I can see him thinking. I'm just saying, like, I feel like if you like look back on WCW, like I feel like the American males and Scotty Riggs and Bagwell were there forever, like in the early stages before the NWO, and then like Bagwell joins the NWO, and like Scotty Riggs is just like, I think he was in the flock. He might have been in the flock at one point. Like I don't even know. Like
So they broke up in November 1996 after Bagwell turned heel on Riggs and joined the NWO. Following the split, Riggs had an unfortunate, I'm ad-libbing here, single competition where he immediately entered a feud with Bagwell, and in Sold Out, he lost an uncensored strap match where he was choked out by Bagwell.
Oh.
And then he was in the flock for about 5 seconds.
Yes.
He disappeared with his weird narcissistic gimmick, and then he went to ECW.
See, like he was the Janetti.
I mean,
hey, if you come to this podcast and don't expect to have these obscure wrestling references of people that you've probably never fucking heard of before, I'm sorry, but I've watched wrestling for 30 some odd years, and my brain is like a sponge when it comes to just random. Like I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, but I can remember Scotty Riggs and Marcus Alexander Bagwell being in a tag team called the American Males.
Well, I guess since we're talking about references, I want to say rest in peace to Corporal Kirshner, a.k.a. Leatherface, or his real name, Michael Penzel. He passed away actually yesterday. I don't know if you guys remember him. He played Leatherface in wrestling for a while. So there's another obscure reference for you. I'm like, oh, Corporal Kirshner died.
Oh, no.
But going back to this match, I mean, this is the longest match on the card. Like, seriously?
Why?
Like, why? Like, I was just watching this and, like, I kept thinking, is it over yet? Like,
these are two mat technicians, too.
Oh, yeah.
Said no one ever.
Yeah. I don't know. Next. I don't get nothing to say about this.
Did we ever get like the whole total package was like the other person in the match? I don't even know if like we got that far. I went off the rails with the Scotty Riggs thing, but
can I just say the torture rack? I thought it back then, and you can both boo me if you want. Stupidest fucking finish in wrestling.
I'm with
it
you.
Does not look effective. And when he was doing it on Macho at the end of the match, when he said Savage was just like limp laying there and he's just like barely doing it. And the announcers were trying to, Shivani's trying so hard to sell this as devastating. He's like, he racked him. That's why Miss Elizabeth is here. It's because her husband just got racked. Like, no, your husband just laid on the dude's shoulders like the dead fish. And Luger was like, meh.
Yeah, Vincent and Miss Elizabeth had to help carry Savage out after that brutal torture rack.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and then, I'm sorry, his back body drop that preceded his horrible looking power slam too. Like,
oh, dude, you think of like Randy Orton flipping that fucking power slam, and then you see Luger do it, and you're like, oh, vomit, like, oh, like it's in like slow motion. Like we're still waiting for him to pivot 20 something years later.
I always, Buff Bagwell, we already know he sucks. You don't have to listen. You don't have to be a long time listener.
I liked his finisher though. He had that cool blockbuster finisher. That was kind of neat. Yeah, I will give him credit for that, but
just like Blockbuster, it's already gone. He's not really, but he just, I don't know. I mean, put it this way: he got fired on his first night on Raw for having a terrible match with Booker T. So, like, clearly he did not have the stuff. I've never thought Buff Bagwell was that great. His gimmicks were awkward. Just.
He had that cool like Abe Lincoln top hat for a while too.
So did everyone at our local fair when we were in high school. Remember everyone had like the cat hat hats for the.
I had one of those.
You remember the clown at the fair, Mongo? Like the one that would always swear at you and shit. Yeah. And then like one year they had to like do away with him because like people started throwing rocks at him. People started deciding that the bars were small. Like he would like say stuff. Like I remember that like it was yesterday. Like we went there one time and like the clown was gone. We're like, what happened? They're like, yeah, they were throwing rocks at him. It's like,
so basically, Tim, I don't know if you ever went to the Rochester, New Hampshire Fair, but they used to have this clown in a dunk tank, and the dunk tank was probably put back about 30 probably feet-ish. Yeah. And he was in like a cage, almost like when you go to like a rock show, they have the plexiglass. It was like that kind of cage. and he would just insult you, try to entice you to come up.
Like as you were walking by, he'd be like, "You look like you throw like a girl." Like he like all this like weird stuff. Like, "Hey, bring your girlfriend over. She throws better than you." Like stuff like that. Yeah, it was...
I remember I walked by and he went boom, 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 boom. So like, I ended up like, he's like, high and dry here, folks, high and dry. So I remember I freaking dunked him in the water. First try. So me being all impressed, like 15-year-old, like, yeah, I got you, bitch. He gets up, he's like, I still got your money. I'm like, damn it.
You're right.
That's what this match felt like. We still got your money. Damn it.
Yep.
We had to watch that match.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Imagine being there in person.
I know.
Did you see the crowd? They were dead.
It was all WCW wrestlers. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they were all there for the Sting Hogan match, and they all bought tickets, according to Tony Schiavone. They all flew themselves out, and they all bought tickets.
Probably true.
I'm gonna use Tim's line. There was nothing memorable about this match whatsoever.
Nothing.
Well, except for Vincent still waiting on the ring post as we sit here and talk right now for the spot for him to jump off. But yeah, he was late for his cue too. Like Bagwell had to go down the ramp. He's like, "Where's Vincent?" And then finally, like Vincent, like, "Here I am."
We crap on AEW or WWE when they do the tope suicida and everybody's like waiting, standing outside the ring to get jumped on. Vincent literally was, like Roland said, he was on the turnbuckle at one point. And he's just like crouched down.
You look like Spider-Man.
And he's like waiting to jump, and you're just like Lex Luger clearly saw you. And like, and Roland said earlier, and Tim said earlier about the NWO, the fact that Buff Bagwell and Vince were in the NWO should know that this is where NWO Black and White, how they went from being one of the hottest factions in the world to being watered down by utter fucking shit.
And don't forget Scott Norton with his cameo with that brutal belt that he hit him with. Like that was such a brutal.
That is Scott Steiner's belt.
Yeah.
No, you got that. You got that at Hot Topic for $9.99 from the emo kid who's trying to sell you some new album that you've never heard of while you're just looking for a wrestling shirt. But then he ends up just saying, "No, you need to listen to this instead." I don't want to listen to Good Charlotte. I just want my damn wrestling shirt.
I like Charlotte.
I do too. I was just trying to think about Hot Topic band.
I like the anthem. The anthem was good. And then what was the other song on that album? I can't think of it.
Lifestyles of the rich and the famous.
Yeah. Cool back in the day. We're totally off the rails. Thanks.
Yeah.
Lex Luger. Anyways.
So next up, we have a U.S. title match. You have DDP getting a win over Curt Hennig in about 11 minutes. This was DDP's first major title win. So I think the right guy went over. I mean, this is the perfect time for you to elevate DDP, getting a win over quality opponent like Curt Hennig. But I just kept thinking this match, like, I wish Curt Hennig was still around. Like, he could have been, like, we talked about Eddie Guerrero being, like, a great coach or something. Like, Curt Hennig could be excellent whenever he wanted to be a coach. He could probably even still wrestle if he was still alive. Commentator, whatever, manager, whatever he wanted to do.
You imagine if they had put Curt with Joe?
Yeah.
Like his manager, like, and I you keep saying Curt Hennig, right? I love how Mike Tenay would say Hennig. Mike Tenay would enunciate that like so good. And obviously it is Curt Hennig, like there's a G at the end, but like everybody usually says Curt Hennig. Like that's just how it comes out. Like I say it that, but yeah, Mike Tenay with T, he's like Curt Hennig. It's like, yeah, we know that's his name, dude. But like it's just, I thought that was funny. But yeah, you imagine, a young, Joe Hennig being managed by his dad, it would be, gold. It would be.
Mm-hmm.
I pronounce his name wrong like my whole damn life. I in my brain always says Henning. I know it's Hennig.
Same here.
But like I always add the extra N. I always put the wrong emphasis, the wrong syllable in that one.
He enunciates the way he texts.
Yeah.
Shit, it's Christmas. I'm not supposed to be.
I know.
But it's been good for a few weeks. You can't say.
Yeah, it has been better.
It's saying how it hasn't been.
It's definitely been better.
It's
I didn't
better.
say it was perfect. I said it was better.
Well, we were talking about Mr. Perfect.
Well, you know what? The match itself was, it wasn't perfect, but it was decent. And DDP was holy shit was DDP over. That's all I was saying. It's like,
and this was back before DDP. Not to cut you off, this is back before DDP even had like tights. He was still jeans.
Still in jeans. Yep.
But no, I definitely enjoyed the match. Like Tim said, I think he could still go today if, Mr. Perfect was, still alive. Even if he was just doing what Sting does in AEW, where he had a couple one-offs here and there, or Rumble appearances. I mean, I remember when he came back, before he passed in the early 2000s of the Rumble, and it was a great pop for him. It just sucks that a certain plane ride kind of had to derail his career again.
Well, and look at DDP wrestling in AEW a couple years ago. Like he pulled it off. Like it was a one-off, but it was cool. Like it was good to see. And speaking of Sting, I know we're going to get there in a minute, but like, did you guys all watch AEW?
I did not.
You need to. That face paint.
Well, I saw the face paint.
Then the spot where he throws MJF on his head from the Tim. So FTR is on the floor, and Sting grabs MJF and throws him over the top rope. Well, FTR is too far forward, and MJF literally hits like his hips on them and pivots straight on his head.
Ooh.
He spiked his head.
Oh, dude. And then the next spot was that typical tope spot where Sting goes to the top rope, almost falls off the top rope, but still gets the jump onto all three of them. But like it was the match was good. The face paint on all three of them was fucking cool. Like Sting, CM Punk had
Surfer Sting.
Yeah, had the Surfer Sting with the scorpion on his pants and stuff. Yeah, so if nobody's seen that yet, definitely go back and watch it because it was a really cool moment in time. It really was.
Yeah. It makes you appreciate how we're talking about, like you said, DDP. Just recently retired, had his last match in AEW a year and a half ago, and Sting's still wrestling. Who's coming up in the main event? Like it's cool to see that they are still going. I know we usually shit on when the veterans hang on too long, but when done right, like I said, hypothetically, if Eddie Guerrero or Owen Hart or all these people were still alive, I think they could be used right because you need veterans to support the younger talent.
Well, look at Tully. Look at Tully having a match. If Arn didn't have his nerve issues, I think he could have a match like a one-off type thing. I think he could. Like, yeah, he's not in the best shape, but he could do his signature moves and get through a 10-minute match. If it was a tag match or a triple threat or something like that, he could do it.
And it's just great. Like, what I was going to say is, if you haven't seen Relentless yet, it's on Prime, the DDP documentary. It's basically all about the creation of how he created DDP Yoga, but it also gives insight into his last match at AEW, and he talks about like the damage that wrestling took on his body and how he wasn't sure if he was going to do this last match, but seeing what he went through to prepare for the match and then what after the match, you got to appreciate what these performers do in the ring. Like, going back and watching how fluid he was in the ring, in 97, and then you see him, a year and a half ago, and just like age really took a toll, and, bumping took a toll, but it's still cool to see that they can still go. That's why I always appreciate, like you were saying, Sting and all that, they can still go because, I've only taken a few bumps in my life in a ring. It fucking hurts. I don't know how like anyone's like, I'm going to jump off this 9-foot platform, smash my back of the ring and do it again tomorrow. Like, no thanks.
Speaking of one other thing too, Mongo, remember how last week we talked about Jeff Hardy? Did you see the TikTok video of him singing the writing on the wall?
Yeah.
Like he looks like he's definitely in a way better place. Like regardless of what, like I said, what everybody WWE says, everybody like he didn't. If anything, he needed to get out. That was plain and simple. He needed to get out, and I'm glad that he's not in a bad place. Like I know we discussed that, but like I just wanted to throw that out there too.
And I think Tim agreed with me a little bit too. And I said, who knows? Could have been mental health burnout. It could have been a mental burnout. We all deal with that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's what it was. I think he was just sick of the WWE grind, especially when like he's at the stage of his career now where like they were starting and stopping him. Like he'd be there, he would job to Austin Theory, then he would be like, it's just let him go. Like I know his contract was supposed to be up like last year, but because he was injured, they added time to it. It's like just let him, like you're releasing everybody else. Just let him go. Like, just let him do his thing. And if he wants to pop up in AEW or, New Japan or wherever for a one-off or whatever, let him. Like, he's at the age now where he's wrestled long enough and he's earned everything. He's earned the ability to go wherever he wants, when he wants, kind of like Jericho. Like, Vince told him to go, and then Vince was surprised that he went. It's like, well, you fucking told him to go, stupid. Hello? Like... And Jericho didn't have to contact Vince, but he did. And then Vince was like, oh, I didn't know you were actually going to. Why the fuck do you think I called? Like, hello. Like, let them go. People that have been in the business that long should be able to write their own ticket. Whatever they want to do, they should be able to do. Plain and simple. It shouldn't have anything to do with Vince wants or anything else.
Yeah. You know, I'll never understand excuse me, I can't talk. I won't take too long on this point. I'll never understand the whole gatekeeping of when a wrestler jumps from one promotion to another. Who really cares where they worked for? You know, we all have career changes in our life. We all move around. You know, I don't see, you know, we didn't give, Tim shit when he changed his job because, he did it for the better of himself. Or, when I left my company years ago and, had, tried something else, no one gave me shit. You know, you do what you got to do.
You and I have both left and went back to the same place because we found out it wasn't greener on the other side. Like we but if you don't do that, you're never going to know. So that's the worst part when you have a Vince McMahon telling people or hoarding people or making it so you can't even venture out. Like Vince to the point where he wasn't even letting Jeff do his music and shit. Like he couldn't do music shows because Vince essentially wouldn't let him. Just like you couldn't be on Twitch and all his fucking when they're not at work, let them do whatever the fuck they want. Plain and simple.
Look at guys like Matt Cardona who've reinvented themselves, and he probably makes more money with the Major Wrestling Figure podcast and his merchandising and his indie appearances than he did in WWE. And I'm sure he's probably happier because that's what a lot of people bet on themselves. We have even some people from WCW when WCW folded in 2001. A lot of them didn't go to WWE, but a lot of them stayed on the independents or tried to revitalize ECW. Or, Tommy Dreamer kind of flopped around, but he did House of Hardcore and started podcasting and other things. And it's great because you still get to interact with these wrestlers and see them. It shouldn't matter where you worked, and it shouldn't matter if you have people like Bischoff and Zbyszko holding you down.
Yeah,
good segue.
Let's get into that match. It's a singles match. Bret Hart is the special guest referee. Basically, this is for Control of Nitro. Zbyszko wins, WCW controls Nitro, Eric Bischoff wins, and the NWO controls Nitro. Okay, first of all, there's a lot of things wrong with this match. First of all, it went too long at 11 minutes. Second of all, I don't understand the whole thing where Bret Hart kept admonishing Larry Zbyszko for doing nothing. Every 2 seconds, he was yelling at Zbyszko.
I think he was trying to oversell that he was neutral. I think they wanted to prove that they wanted to make it look like he might be in the NWO, but I feel like they told him to it was way over the top.
It was over the top.
Yeah.
Third, Scott Hall comes out and loads up Bischoff's boot. Bischoff goes for a kick. The stupid object goes flying. Zbyszko has to fake being knocked out.
Even afterwards, Bret Hart's picking him up, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah.
It's dude, it
didn't hit you.
Row.
It didn't hit you."
Some poor grandmother's eating her fucking popcorn, got her teeth knocked out in the third row with a steel plate.
So
what was the finish?
So that's the other thing. And then Bret Hart punches Bischoff and awards the win to Zbyszko. How did Zbyszko win? I don't
know. They just randomly were and Larry Zbyszko is the winner.
If anything, Bischoff should have won by DQ because he got hit by Bret Hart.
Bret Hart's a referee. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I don't understand.
As we'll find out in the next match.
Yes.
I want to know who in the crowd got hit with that fucking steel plate from the booth.
that thing could not have. And the best part is that Bischoff's leg is 53 feet from Zbyszko, and the thing goes flying too. It wasn't even he almost hit him with it. It was as soon as he flung his leg up, it was like someone shot it out of a cannon, at a Patriots game. It was out of a cannon, just gone.
I took Taekwondo when I was younger, and I wore those kick pads, and I've worn those gloves. So all those kick pads is basically, it's just a little piece of material that cups over the front of your toes, and there's just a little strap under your foot.
Yeah.
So it's not really held on good. So the mouth part kind of opens up, the part that covers your toes, which is where he slid the thing into. But nothing's going to hold it in place.
That little strap, they assumed that one little strap was going to hold this fucking thing in place.
But yeah, just look up martial arts sparring boots. That's basically what they are. They're more for show in this match, but it's it would have been more believable if he loaded his gloves, he had put a roll of quarters in his hand. I get they were trying to be cool with the finish, but it was they obviously you didn't rehearse this. The one time you probably should rehearse. All right, let me swing my foot to see how it feels with this weight in it, make sure I don't actually knock you out for real. Oh shit! I just knocked out the dude in section 201.
Yeah,
I just hit the cameraman on the apron. Shit, he's dead. I killed him. We probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the best part is the chicanery continues into what was a pretty solid build up, like we said, for 18 months to then end the way that it did is ridiculous too. And I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but like the cluster of this match literally just spilled over into the next match.
Yeah. So it's, Sting and Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the world title. 18-month build-up. Sting basically hasn't said anything in 18 months. So they had such an incredible build-up. They're building this as the most important wrestling match in the sport of wrestling. Tony Schiavone said that a million times throughout this pay-per-view.
Which, to be fair, the build-up made it that way. But then, and again, not to cut you off, but then to have it end the way that we're going to get there, but to have it end the way that it is, to me, is a travesty. And this is exactly what was wrong with WCW.
Yeah, the match itself was It wasn't anything.
Any Hogan match is always going to be because Hogan we do like 5 things.
So there's nothing much to analyze the match, but so here's the finish. So Hogan hits the leg drop, and we should say this: there was a whole controversy with the referee in this match.
Yes,
they earlier in the night they did a drawing, and Nick Patrick was chosen as the referee. He was in the NWO's corner before, got suspended.
Yeah, he was the shady NWO referee.
Yeah. J.J. Dillon makes an announcement. He's like the chair of the championship committee or whatever they call it. And he said, Nick Patrick's fine. We have no issues with his work now since he's been back. So that's the thing. So Hogan hits the leg drop, gets the 1, 2, 3. Now Bret Hart comes out and holds the arm of the timekeeper and says, "Don't ring the bell," and yells at Nick Patrick that was a fast count. Here's the problem with that. It was not a fast count at all.
If anything, Hogan had the tights.
Yeah, it was not a fast count at all. So Bret Hart,
and that's when Schiavone goes, "Well, he was a referee earlier."
Yeah, he was a referee earlier, so now he can be a referee now. So he restarts the match. Sting hits the Scorpion Deathlock, and Hogan submits. And so Sting's your winner. But seriously, it was botched. It was, if you read about the history of this match, it was botched. Nick Patrick was. There's some controversy whether Hogan told Nick Patrick to count normally to make Sting look weak or not. Or there's also things that Nick Patrick just screw up. So you believe what you want to believe. We'll never know the true story.
And to be fair, Hogan had the tights. So that's what they should have. They should have been like, well, no, that doesn't count. He had the tights. But like you said, that fast count was supposed to be the narrative, and there was no fast. Like you said, literally the problem with that is there was no fast count. It never happened.
So Bischoff kind of addressed this a while ago. So I kind of looked it up because I thought the same thing. I'm like, because I remember watching this Starrcade. I remember always being bothered by it. And I know when Roland and I were talking about doing this last week when we kind of, again, chose without you, Tim, because you weren't here. So we had to choose something on the fly. We were like, yeah, I remember being a decent match. But no, I remember the build-up now. And once I saw the match again, I remember, like Roland said, this was everything that was wrong with WCW in my eyes. You had a friggin' 16, 17-month buildup of Sting Hogan, WCW versus NWO. You had the leader of the NWO and essentially the face of WCW finally coming to a head for control of the title, being the big dog, being the representative. And this is the shit you put on for a match and a finish because Hogan didn't want to lose clean. Hogan wanted chicanery like he always did. And Bischoff basically
doesn't work for me, brother.
Exactly. And Bischoff kind of, just surmised, I'm not going to read his whole comment because it's ridiculously long, but he basically said that, you had Hogan pitching one idea and you had Sting kind of pitching another idea, and he couldn't really compromise. So he kind of did a King Midas and tried to go down the middle. So that's where the whole, fast count, not fast count. But I heard the same thing as Roland, that it was almost, he was told to count slow to make him look bad.
That was
Hogan,
Tim. That was Tim.
Sorry, sometimes going third kind of screws me up on who says what to me. But
pay attention.
I want to give him credit. That was not.
I appreciate. Sorry, Tim.
It's all right. I forgive you. It's Christmas.
But yeah, it's. I think that controversy is true because, like you said, there's a lot of articles. I mean, even Dave Meltzer didn't know what the hell happened. So it just seems like it was just a clusterfuck. And it's just, you had such opportunity to have a storybook ending. You had a great entrance by Sting, probably one of the coolest entrances WCW did.
Well, and then you had, like you said, like we've all said, you had that build up to then have a non-referee be the way that Sting wins the belt. Are you fucking kidding me? Like that,
right.
that is the word. Like, have another actual referee come out and be like, don't ring the bell. He held the tights or fast counted. Bret Hart, like, what? No offense, but what makes Bret Hart like anything other than a talent because he officiated the match before? Come on, like that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
No, you're supposed. Yes, we're supposed to suspend disbelief with wrestling.
I know, but
no, I'm agreeing with you. But
that is so unbelievable.
But in context of their rules, I'm using air quote because another thing, and Tim, I give you credit for this one because I know this was you. WCW finally wants to enforce rules in the previous match with Bret Hart's being too picky and enforcing every rule under the sun. But then they completely forget that the officials are supposed to be sanctioned by WCW as a referee. But randomly, some wrestler who, like Roland said, was a referee before is suddenly been imbibed the powers to come out and be a referee again. What in the actual fuck?
Right. Well, and that's my thing. Like, if they wanted to do the finish this way, fast count, tights, whatever, you need to have another official come out after the bell has rung and been like, no, we're not doing it that way. It was a fast count, the tights, whatever. I was sent out here. JJ Dill, we're not having it end that way. We're not like that. That's more believable than Bret Hart, like grabbing the guy's little hammer and being like, you don't ring that bell.
What? It would have been more believable if Shivani was like, hold on, folks, we're getting a message from back. This match will have to be restarted. And then the announcer come out, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to restart the match. That would have been more believable. Like you said, no, sir. Yeah. You don't touch that bell. I'm the hitman.
And then did you notice the best part about all of that is that afterwards when Bret gets in the ring to be the official, he goes to ring the bell and the fucking guy doesn't have the thing to ring the bell with. Hart threw it on the floor. So he's like, Bret Hart gets in the ring and he's like, turns around, he's like pointing to ring the bell, and there's no bell to ring because you took a memory thing and threw it on the fucking ground, you idiot. After you deck the official.
So this has always been my kind of problem with WCW though. It's these kind of moments they always had so much potential, but that's why the downfall would come in a few years because there's only so much fans are going to take with this, But this is when it was at its peak, so people were because this is like the Wolfpack starting to slowly form. This is when everyone's in the NWO, so this is when people kind of hang on because you kind of picked your side. Like I went Wolfpack all the way. I was always Team Wolfpack versus Team Black and White when it came out. So, this is when you kind of started siding. You still watched it because, it wasn't WCW versus NWO anymore, but it was still like two NWOs, fighting for power. It was still interesting, but you'd get these finishes and you'd be like, whatever, they'll fix it. Let it play out. What does that sound like? That sounds like WWE today. Let it play out. Oh, just let it play out. No, I don't want to let it play out. Don't insult your fucking fans. Like, look, Vince, this is reason 101 why wrestling failed. You can't just keep doing this. You can't, cock tease your fans for 18 months and then basically deliver this shit.
Well, and that's what bothers me about AEW right now is that they have all this talent coming in, and so far they've been good. So far they haven't had that Bret Hart moment where they don't know what to do with the person. Like so far every debut and stuff has been good. Like there hasn't been like a oh shit, like what do we do? Do we make him a special referee? Do we they've been good. But it worries me that they don't have the TV time that sooner or later someone's going to debut and they're going to fuck it up. It's going to be like the Bret Hart situation where he doesn't show up for 3 months, shows up, then he's an official for 2 matches, and then he ends up joining the NWO anyways. And then it's just going to be this and it's this literally, like you said, Mongo, is the start of the NWO dissension, but it also again, how did Hogan really lose the belt? No offense. How everybody from WCW gets in the ring and they're like, who we won? It's no, you didn't.
And it cheapens the Wayne thing.
Right. They build up to this, and this is what, like you said, this is the shit they deliver. Yeah. It's almost like the Fiend and Seth Rollins in the Hell in a Cell. How do you have it end that way? It's I mean, I know there wasn't the same build up, but it's the same ending. It's what? What?
Yeah, so yeah. I mean, Tim, I know I usually throw a rating on Tim. Let's go with Tim's rating first, because seeing his facial expressions, it's not going to be very high.
Yeah. There is a lot of clusterness to this pay-per-view. I'm going to give it a 4 if I had to give it a rating. Definitely, it didn't really get better after the first match. The first match, Malinko and Guerrero, definitely the match of the night for me. But yeah, a lot of gaga throughout this whole pay-per-view and botch finishes and not good executed finishes. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. It's if it's somehow higher than a 4, I don't know the logic that anybody can have, because this, especially if you were there, you had to feel the feel good story, Sting wins, but if you logically thought about it, it's we saw Zbyszko and Bischoff in a match that we don't even know how it ended, like what happened. And then the next match, you see a guy that's not even a referee come out and referee, like, because he refereed the match before, he's a referee for the night. Like, what? Like, they had so much potential and they just ruined this whole show. Like, this show could have easily been a 6, 7, or an 8. Like, this, with the names on this card, this could have been almost double what it was rated, and they just screwed the pooch. It's exactly what they did. And yeah, I'm with Tim 100%.
I'm going to be a little more harsh. I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give it the first version of Sean Waltman here, because I liked the opening match. The Cruiserweight match was a great match. That's when I texted you guys, like, oh, I'm enjoying Starrcade. Wish I hadn't said those words. Because...
Well, and even the DDP Kurt Hennig match was pretty good. But after, I mean, other than those two matches, they were all kind of doggone garbage.
I mean, that's what it is. If you take those matches out, it's probably a 1.
Yeah.
This was at the MCI Center in DC. MCI used to be a phone company, and now they do like service and shit. They lasted longer than WCW. A fucking rotary phone company lasted longer than WCW. If that tells you anything.
Well, how do you like build up? Like, this was like one of the best long-term storylines ever, and that's how you pay it off.
Yeah,
like who in their right mind, Bischoff, Hogan, whoever, was like, yep, this is what we're gonna do. Like, whoever had the final say, whether it was Hogan with his creative control, or if it was Bischoff, or like you said, Bischoff trying to go down the middle, they should be ashamed at what they delivered, because this could have been somewhat similar to the Hangman Adam Page payoff, like storytelling wise.
Yeah,
and they just screwed it up.
And this was, they said, this is their biggest night of the year. This is what they deliver. Like, this could have been one of their defining moments. Like, where were you when Sting conquered Hogan and became the champion? Versus, where were you when Sting technically, I guess, won the title? I mean, it was a wrestler, but we're going to give it to him. And yeah, where were you? No, like, it's just, when you read this card last week, I was excited because I remember the time period. I remember the names. I obviously blocked this pay-per-view out for reasons, because once I got to the Zbyszko match and I remember the friggin' steel plate flying out of his boot, I was like, oh no, this is the infamous, no, this is the one where it's like a weird non-finish with Sting. Oh shit, this one Bret Hart stays out there. Like, I remembered it came back. I'm like, so honestly, if you're a wrestling historian, watch it for the history, but just know that it's a very upsetting show.
Mm-hmm. It just leaves you wanting more. It shows you what could have been.
Yep. So that is our rundown of Starrcade 97. Coming up for you guys next week, it is a special New Year's episode, and we're doing a New Year's Wrestling Roulette special. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to put a bunch of names on a wheel, random names, and we're going to have you get involved with this too. So you're going to have a part in selecting the names that we talk about. But basically, we're going to spin the wheel, and whatever name it lands on, we're going to give you our predictions for the year ahead. So we're looking forward to doing that. And we're going to rely on you guys to give us your input.
And then we kind of threw out the idea of maybe at like our 3rd year episode, our anniversary show, of kind of going back, because that'll be almost like 10, 11 months. It'll be almost a year from now. So it'll be a really good, measuring stick to see how we did, see how, like, it's just, and especially if you get somebody in WWE right now, I feel like that stuff is going to be just so up in the air with releases and Vince not knowing so literally it's going to be essentially a roulette wheel that we're going to spin. We're going to get a certain amount of spins each, and there's going to be some choice picks on there where you can pick who you want. But like, if you guys, if we put the names out there and you guys vote for, some obscure name that ends up on the list, and one of us gets them and we have no clue, we're just going to have to shoot in the dark and hope that it comes true. So it should be interesting to see how he goes. And to be fair, there's really nothing to cover in history on this week. So we kind of had to change things up. Tim thought of the idea of kind of doing like a New Year's resolution kind of prediction show, and then it just kind of turned into what we decided to do, which I think is a great idea. It's something different. It lets you guys interact with us a little bit and help narrow the names down. I think we kind of decided we're going to go with like 4 each, so we'll have like 12 names ish, or like 15 names all together. So like there might be 3 that don't get picked or whatever. But like we're essentially each going to get, 4 spins each, and we're just going to have to spitball what we think is going to happen for them in the next year.
No, I think it'll be great too, because not only going to try to predict what they happen, but we're also going to, if they had some relevant matches, maybe talk about some of their highlights of 2021 and kind of give like a retrospective and also a future perspective. So yeah, Tim, it was a great idea. I mean, glad you took a week off and thought of it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. That's what I did.
Hey, to be fair, the name was all me.
Yes, the name was you.
I named the Wrestling Roulette. I just thought that was funny. And
you guys are the Podfathers for a reason.
That's right. And Mongo figured out how to use the wheel, so we all kind of contributed.
We all
I mean, I Googled. It's not like I had some sort of like magical mechanical engineering or
All
anything.
right, so we decided that we're going to try to take it easy on him, and then he decides to still shit
Yeah, you just
here. So,
well, you know, it's like reverse psychology. I mean, if you guys aren't doing it, I feel left out. So I get
he's like, it's not a show if I don't get shit on at least once by one of you guys.
But I'll try to get the spreadsheet or whatever we're gonna do created by hopefully tomorrow. Obviously, with the holidays coming up, it might be a little difficult, but it'll be out there. As long we hopefully want to give you guys at least until Thursday, afternoonish, like Thursday, like by 5 p.m. We're thinking to give us just some time.
We're gonna probably record Thursday night next week because we're doing that this week too, because for Christmas Eve and stuff. So it might be a little bit earlier than that, but like Thursday-ish. We'll try to give you guys like Sunday or Monday to like Thursday. Like that's hopefully the plan.
Yeah, so just make sure. I mean, we'll put it on all of our socials. Just make sure you're following us at WCW Podcast on pretty much every platform we're on. For listening as well, WCW wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you're telling your friends. We're all put out the jump goal of 3,000 with other goals. So right now we're getting closer to that mid 2,600s. So keep spreading the word so we can try to hit some of those stretch goals that we put out there. And we couldn't do this without you guys. We appreciate it. And I hear we might be doing something at Clemento's potentially, possibly, maybe in January. So stay tuned for a lot of exciting announcements. And I can't wait to spin the wheel and, putting us kind of on the spot because we get to think on our feet and really test our wrestling knowledge there.
Well, and it's cool, too, because you get to kind of be the booker for a little bit. Like what you think's
can't
best.
do worse than Starrcade 97.
Ugh.
No.
Yeah.
At least this one didn't break Tim.
No, this one didn't break me. I'm all right now.
Well, he thankfully had a week off before, so
yeah, I had plenty of time to prepare myself for this.
No, he's just gonna blame us for picking this show to cover since he didn't have input.
That is true. I could,
yeah.
I would have normally done that, but in the Christmas spirit, I didn't. I'll let you guys off the hook. So thanks for tuning us in on this special Christmas episode. Thanks if you are listening to this on Christmas. Thanks for making us a part of your holiday. Follow us on our socials to be part of Wrestling Roulette next week. Everybody have a safe holiday. Until next week, I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Pulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.